Welcome, brothers and sisters, to our program Mental Health. We talked last time about mental health and how to solve some issues in families. And today we want to come back to it and use these family systems that are there to solve problems. Because with this addiction effects in families, there are many problems, and the partners are not understanding each other. Accusations are coming from here and there. But there is a way to solve and address this problem softly. It is why we have again today our friend, Mr. Onyango, that I'm inviting again today to take us through this way of solving these issues of mental health or addiction in families.
Thank you very much, Father. If you look at a family as a unit that consists of 2 or 3 people who are related by kinship, marriage, or adoption, we can also look at family as a unit that consists of subsystems that live together, that work together, interact together. These are the executive system, which is the marital system, of course, which runs the family. And then we have the other system that is the executive system, or the parental subsystem, with the children, okay? And then we have what we call the sibling subsystem. Okay. We can look at family in that way to enable us to understand the interactions and the behavior within the family.
Wow, that is nice. It helps us to see how these subsystems can understand each other, interact for harmonious living.
Exactly, because basically in a family, as it has been written in books, we are likely to have what we call imbalance. Before it used to be called dysfunctional, but I think it has been improved, and now we have what we call family imbalance. And a family, when there is no proper communication, when there is no proper management, guiding principles, then it becomes what we call imbalanced family. We are likely to have an addict, we are likely to have a hero, a clown, mascot. We are likely to have a clown, in this case is a dreamer, a problem child, and the one that we call a caretaker of the family. Some people call it lost child, problem child, etc. And so when all this is brought together, sometimes communication can be a problem in the family, in that people don't communicate well, they don't interact well, and then they have what we call a confusion in the roles, and that is an imbalanced family. If we talk about our state, maybe where we live, we realize that sometimes a child takes the role of a father, or a child takes the role of a mother to take care of the other family. This particular child, or young man, or young woman, is likely to become an addict, or likely bump into a problem, because there are things that they cannot manage. So the communication between the marital subsystem, the executive subsystem, will affect all these other systems, the marital and the sibling, and then the sibling subsystem, because there will be what we call a general confusion. Yes.
Wow, this gives me to bump in a family that I know. And the problem is that the parents are not there. The parents always go. You know, with the problem of jam in Rongai, they leave at 4, they come back at 10 p.m. And now the child is left with the sister. And the sister is telling me she does not know how to do it. Then when she's tired, she just leaves the house. So then this is the problem, the imbalance. I was telling it dysfunction. Thank you for telling me it is no more dysfunction.
Yes, dysfunctional is kind of labeling. So we try to use imbalance in mental health. In this case, the parents are absent in the family. We are born differently, with different talents, different ways of communication, different characters, because the schools that we go to in themselves form our character and personality. The teacher that we are introduced to you realize that when you have a child, like my child is in PP1. When you tell the child something, the child will tell you, no, the teacher said this
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
And so you can see the character is already formed,
Yeah.
and there's a belief that the
Yes.
child has. So this confuses what is supposed to guide the family.
Yeah.
And so this child in this case has a very difficult task because she or he is taking the role of the parents. And in the real sense, she's not a parent, or
Yes.
he is not a parent.
Yes.
So you can see the child who is taking the role of a parent is overburdened.
Yeah.
And he may be giving his or her best, but in a poor way. She's
Yeah.
only managing what she can.
Yeah.
So in that family, they're likely to have a problem of character with the children, or the person who's the caretaker, the person who's taking care of the family, will break down.
Yeah.
And you'll realize that a father's formation and a mother's formation is important to a child. There's a good word to put it.
Yeah.
Like, it is something that is near fundamental communication. Even a touch of a parent is very important. So during family meetings, in normal families that are functioning, they're balanced, they have the guidelines of the family that have got to be executed and implemented. They also have what we call attachments with healthy boundaries and communication. So that you know your role, I know my role. In every unit, if the roles are confused, then it is imbalance. In every, just like the body. When one of it is not functioning well, as Virginia Satire calls it, then there's a problem. Before you used to say dysfunctional, but now it's imbalanced in that there's something that is lacking. Yes, every unit has its role.
Yeah.
So they combine together and have harmony.
Yeah.
Like this is what you're supposed to do. We know the common things like taking care of your children and paying their school fees is not enough. There are other issues also. And in psychology of parenting, a child needs the father. For a child to be rightly raised, he needs the father. He needs a father figure. And that's why sometimes in rite of passages, we request the single women sometimes to even have the uncles accompany the children. Because the child is born by a parent, two parents, who either contribute the XY chromosomes and XX chromosomes. The woman produces 23 chromosomes, the man produces 23, 46. For a man, the man will give XY chromosomes. For a woman will give XX, and that will give birth to a man. For a girl, it will be XX chromosomes. And so there must be two people involved in giving birth to a child. And so it's important to raise the child unless death occurs. Yes.
Wow. This brings me to ask a question. What is the role the TV or a house help plays in a family setup?
Thank you very much. The TV has its own role to children in what they understand. Because if it is a child who is in kindergarten, he only needs to play with the TV just for a particular time because of the eyes and because of some misleading things. Because in psychology of parenting, if you introduce a child to these things, some books say that you are giving the child a criminal mind. Okay? A house help is there, as the name describes, to be respected and to help in domestic duties, but not to really take care of the child. You got to involve yourself sometimes even to watch the child yourself and find out what the house help is contributing. The house help has been brought up elsewhere. And so she comes into the family as a stranger with strange character because you have a character of the family. And so she's there to help as the guidelines of the family are. This is what you're supposed to do, and this is what you're supposed to do. Okay? You're supposed to accompany the child to school, etc. But not always. Once in a while, the parents need to help in doing that so that they discover how the child is growing. Because growth and development for a child is progressive. And it goes from one step to the other. It's not static. So there's no way you'll say that I'll postpone to teach my child discipline because the house help is doing. Or you cannot give the house help the role of touching your child all the time. Even as a man in the house, there's a time when your wife needs to take your water to the bathroom. You can guess what will happen if the house help takes for you water 3 or 2 times. That kind of attachment will cause problems. So we have families where children are attached to the house help more than the parents. And that is an imbalanced family. They know the house help, but they don't know the parents.
Yes.
So what does it mean? I said that a family consists of 2 or 3 people united by adoption, kinship, or marriage.
Yeah.
So the child is adapted to the house help. So you are not the father.
Yes.
You are biological,
Yes.
but the child has been adapted to.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This thing occurs also when a child of 5 years old is taken to a boarding school.
Yes.
Finally, the parents won't recognize their child, and the child won't recognize their parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the African families, we have what we call enmeshments. And this brings in the idea of extended families. That's the way we lived as Africans.
Yeah.
In the Western culture, there is called disengagement,
Yeah.
where when you reach a particular age, you disengage from the family and you become independent.
Yeah.
Now, we have a culture, some part of Kenya, which I don't want to mention, who also practice that kind of a culture. Now, when you disengage your child at an early stage, meaning you're telling the child to do the things the way he or she wants, you are giving the teachers the role of a parent. Okay? So in schools where children stay, what we call the boarding schools, if there is no proper system that helps the child in growth, then you are throwing your child away. Okay? In Catholic schools, we used to have a chaplain, a matron, a patron, who monitor together with the parents the growth of the child. But boarding schools sometimes have a very big disadvantage. Yeah. Because you look at the African culture itself, like where I come from, you live with your relatives and things like that. It has its advantages because they can abuse your children.
Yeah.
But again, before it never used to be there. We live like together. So when you disengage the child, you interfere with the child's way of thinking.
Yeah.
So the child becomes like he doesn't want to stay with people. The same way Peggy Emerson has done a research about growth and development of a child. There's what we call anxiety of departure. There are people who do not like people to depart from them, and there are people who do not like people to come close to them. And so the child will develop another personality, like you would not want to stay with the family, you like to stay at school, etc. And so that is another big area that needs to be looked into. Even if a child is at boarding school, there need to be proper follow-up to find out how the child is growing. How many times do you visit the school as a parent? Because there is a mixture of children who come from different places. For instance, in Kenya, we have the Central Province, Nyanza Province, Nairobi itself. There are different ways in which the children experience these kind of places. Like in school, the school that I was in, Hispania High School, we had problems with the children from a particular part of the city because they know more than what we know. Okay? And so they come in with characters of dressing, praying, and things like that. Even drugs. They get introduced to drugs much earlier.
Yeah. Wow. Then the matter is communication between the systems, the subsystems. And when the subsystems are well installed, the child will come out of the family straight, well educated, well upbrought.
Yes.
And the child will develop the character proper to the family. Then the mistakes we make of bringing in TV to replace a subsystem or the house help to replace a character, or even to let schools take the roles of some characters, some subsystems, are confusing the child. Exactly. And the child will start developing things, will start blaming the child, but in fact, we are responsible.
We are responsible out of curiosity, and that brings in the issue that you said, because parenting is from 0 to 9. Some books say, I think 0 to 10.
Yeah.
And these are the crucial years of child's formation.
Yeah.
This is where you do your parenting. If you don't do your proper parenting between that time, then you have failed as a parent.
Yeah.
And so there are things that you really need to do hands-on. Even if you're sending your child to some other place, there are things that you need to see. My mother would still clean us in the evening. She would tell the house help, leave the children until I come, so that I wash them. I tend to realize that she was trying to find out how we are growing. Because there is a lot of things in the physical changes of a child, psychological, which cannot be found in TV itself. Okay? It can be found only on talking and interactions, because there is what we call the unspoken and is spoken.
Yeah.
So you can understand the child from that point of view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Onyango, because I think this is very crucial for even the peace in our society. Then, dear parents, we have learned today that there are subsystems in the family that if they're not working together in harmony, there is dysfunction and the children might be affected. Then we are invited, brothers and sisters, parents, to know our roles in our families, to know our subsystem, and to carry out our duty and our responsibility for the well upbringing of our children. Then we'll have tomorrow better children or better people that will direct us. If your child is smoking, don't just accuse him, but sit down and ask yourself as parents, has our family systems worked well? And I think it is all that we would have learned today. Mr. Onyango, your last word.
My last word is that the one that you mentioned, I've worked with the Zaverian brothers, and they say in harmony, small things grow. Let us embrace this harmony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, viewers. See you next time. You can put your questions when you feel that there are things you did not understand. Just send your questions and things will be done clearly. Thank you.